Hey, Sean Chandler here. I wanted to tell you the story of my Game Boy on the 30th anniversary of the release of the Game Boy in the United States. But before I do that, real quick, if you've been subscribed to this channel for a long time and been wondering why I don't post more on this channel, the short answer is whenever I went full-time with YouTube, I got very active on Instagram, trying to kind of share kind of what's going on in my life, lots of stories, lots of pictures, every day, at least one post, sometimes two, and normally like 10 stories. And because of that, a lot of what I had been doing here, kind of trying to share the little adventure day-to-day in my life, that's happening on my Instagram channel. So if you want to kind of follow some of the stuff I had been doing here before, it is over on Instagram, but I'd like to be more active on here, and hopefully I can post more videos on a more regular basis here moving forward. With all that said, let's start talking about my Game Boy. So for me, I purchased this Game Boy spring break 1993. And I remember specifically when I bought it, where I bought it, and everything like that, because my family took a week-long vacation to Hong Kong, which is a pretty cool little experience to have. So before I was born, my parents lived in Hong Kong and Singapore with my sister. And then when they were pregnant with me, they moved back and I was born in California. So when I was in the 5th grade, my parents decided, hey, let's take a vacation to Hong Kong. I don't know what their reasoning was. They just wanted to take us there. But that is what we did. Spring break 1993. And the reason that I remember it was 1993 is that that same year, about 90 miles that way in Waco, Texas, there was this thing with David Koresh, the Branch Davidian, where the occult like had a standoff with the ATF. And then at the end of it, everybody ended up dying. And so that was like 90 miles that way. We went to Hong Kong and people were like, oh, where are you from? We're from Texas. And they'd be like, oh, the Branch Davidian, David Koresh. And we're like, well, you guys have heard about it? Like, how do you heard about this? Like, we're literally across the world. Anyway, so we go to Hong Kong in 1993 and we're just kind of going through the street markets there. And it's actually pretty cool to go to the other part of the world to see video games because they have totally different video games. So like in the United States, or they had like Street Fighter 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which was not released in the United States. There's a whole bunch of cool things like that. Like you could, of course, if I'd bought it, I couldn't play it on my Nintendo back home because they're like different chipsets or something like that, but it wouldn't have worked. But it was cool to see what they had. One thing we did take a gamble on was this Game Boy right here that we bought from like a street vendor. I mean, it was actually a storefront we could go into it and everything. But we purchased this Game Boy and it didn't have an official Nintendo license deal on it, but it was a great deal. So it's like, hey, wow, you can get a Game Boy here for half off. Probably not a legal one, but still, it's a Game Boy. And it came with, let me see which disc right here. This cartridge right here, and I'll do my best to try and put it right there in your, oh, let me see if I can select on my camera. There it goes. Wow, this new camera is amazing. I wish I should have done a little video for you guys. There, if you can look at that. So if you stare at that, it has 18 different games listed. Or it might have 13 listed. It has 18 different games listed on it. It's actually only 13 games, and 5 of them are hacks of the games where you get, you know, like infinite lives or something like that. One of the games on here is Mario Land. Another one is Dr. Mario. Here's what I can say about this cartridge. It's almost certainly not legit. It's like almost guaranteed. This is a bootleg cartridge that they're like, yeah, like what could we sell a lot of? Like, what if we put 13 games on one cartridge? People would buy that. And we absolutely did buy it very quickly. And then it has 5 more. So there's like a hack of Mario Land where you have 100 lives and a hack of Dr. Mario. I don't know what that, is that true? No, there's not one for Dr. Mario. There is one for Super Mario that has 100 lives. And then there's like a tank game where you have 100 lives on that one as well. So when I bought my Game Boy, that's almost certainly not a legit licensed Game Boy. I also got this almost certainly non-licensed Game Boy game with 13 games plus 5 hacked games. Now, all of this is kind of indicative of how weird my whole childhood was of like, my parents were like, let's go to Hong Kong. Oh, my Game Boy, it's illegitimate. One normal thing though, let's see, I got a normal game. I do have Mega Man. So probably the one just normal game that I have, or one normal cartridge. Actually, this next one's not too weird. So Mega Man, nothing too terribly interesting about that. This next one ties into my current phase of life. And if you've heard me talk about movies, my favorite movies or anything like that, I needed an action game. So what action game do I have? Boop. Terminator 2, even back in 1993. Oh, look, Terminator. I'm going to get that one. So Terminator 2. for my Game Boy is the game of choice, and the final game that I still have. I think I had more games than this. Maybe they're lost. Maybe they're somewhere. I don't know what happened to them. My sister probably took them. That's probably what happened. Final one. The most churchy thing about me, and if you know my history, I was a youth pastor at a church for 8 years. That's not the most churchy thing about me, and that's pretty tough to beat being a pastor of churchy things you can do. No, I have this. Spiritual Warfare, a Christian video game, a Christian Nintendo game right here that my mom bought for me. And here's where it gets even wackier. Nintendo did not want games like this this is not a properly licensed game. Like the way that things were like published, this is not a thing that's supposed to exist. Even this clearly bootleg 13 game thingy looks proper. This one does not. And I'm pretty sure that this right here, because of how unlicensed it is even more illegal than the actual bootlegged game that I own. So there you go. I don't have too much to share. I just wanted to do a little story time with you guys since it's the 30th anniversary of the Game Boy. So I thought I would share my own Game Boy stories. Like I told you at the beginning of this, the reason I'm not sharing more stuff on here is because I'm doing a lot of it on Instagram. So please check me out over on Instagram. I got a ton of stuff. That's the easiest place to gain access to me if you kind of want to message me or something like that. I respond to almost all direct messages that I get over there. But yeah, there you have it. And hopefully I will post more on here and keep talking movies too much. I think that's how I'm supposed to end my video, right?